joy. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit, yeah, yeah. Oh, pour your peace in me. Pour your peace into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your peace in me. Pour your peace into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your love. Pour your love in me. Pour your love into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your love in me. Pour your love into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Wonderful Spirit. Thank you.
Okay, and now it's time for our opening prayer.
So if you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes and to breathe deeply. And as you breathe, to be aware of the air as it fills your lungs, bringing in vitality and life. And as you exhale, be aware of the air as it leaves your body, taking with it everything that no longer serves you. And we breathe in and we breathe out. And we recognize there is one power in the universe. It expresses itself through each of us. Knowing that the essence of this power is love, is peace, is joy, is goodness, is energy. And I know this is true of me, and by definition, it has to be true of each and every one of us here. And I know this is true not only of those of us who are here, but of everyone we meet, anywhere, anytime. I give thanks for this time this morning, for the vision that created this space, that created this experience. I give thanks for the technology that allows us to have this experience. For every individual who's had a part in all the behind-the-scenes activity. For Bill, for Robin, for Joe, for Neil, and for all of those of you who are present here this morning. I give thanks for the truth that is shared, for the connections we have together, and for the gift of today. And from this place of gratitude for all that is, I say amen, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so If you look on your chat, you'll see the February affirmation. And if you'd read along with me, that would be wonderful. Life affords me the option to be an expert in my life, in myself, and my personal power as I take the path less traveled. I walk this path with my head held high, with my heart open, and with my mind at ease. And this allows me to embrace the fullest expression of my being. I am brave along my path, and Spirit holds my hand the whole way. And so it is. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to, some of you may know Bary, but I want to introduce him properly because Bary has an unbelievable background. So let me just tell you a little bit about him. Okay. Bary is a practitioner with CSL, and he runs the men's group for us at CSL NJ. He was a parish minister for several decades. He earned a doctorate in counseling at Boston University, was the director of nonprofit counseling center, and a co-founder in his own counseling center. In addition to serving local faith communities for almost 30 years, he's an adjunct faculty member at Bryant University and Johnson and Wales University. He is deeply steeped in spiritual development and is conversant in the languages of culture and spirituality, accepting people where they are and helping build a framework to allow them to develop in ways of their own choosing. His goal is to inspire others to realize their own inner magnificence, both in terms of becoming aware of it and owning it, and in terms of creating a life based on it. And he has completed 3 triathlons and celebrated his 70th birthday by earning the Spartan trifecta at Fenway Park. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Reverend Bary Fleet. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for that. Bill, you remind me of a story years ago. There was a guy that was introduced as having made millions of dollars in the oil fields in Texas. And when he got up to speak, he said, well, the introduction was essentially correct, but it wasn't me, it was my brother. And it wasn't in the oil fields, it was in the coal mines. And it wasn't in Texas, it was in Pennsylvania. And he didn't make it, he lost it. So it was essentially correct.
Yes.
Several weeks ago, Neil invited me to be the speaker for today, and he referred me to the CSL themes. How many of you know what the yearly theme is for CSL? Just if you know what it is, raise your hand, because it started in January and it's going to continue throughout the whole year. The theme is a grand rising. And the theme for February is divine discomfort. And we also know that February is Black History Month. And the topic for today is pain pushes until vision pulls. And that's actually a quote from Bernard Michael Beckwith when he was being interviewed on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. So anyway, I got all that information and I tucked it away and just kind of let it percolate in the background. And then this last weekend, Debbie and I drove to Ardmore, Pennsylvania. There was a concert, a guy that you are familiar with, Ray Adkins. Ray and his his One Dog Man Band had a wonderful, amazing concert. But while we were there, we realized we were close enough to Philadelphia, we would do the tourist thing. So we did some of the tourist thing Friday afternoon. We went to Ray's concert Friday night. And then Saturday, we did more of the tourist stuff. And obviously, neither of us have been to Philadelphia for actually decades. And so the first thing we did was go to the Liberty Bell and go through all the security and see the Liberty Bell and get reminded of the story of how that came to be and the crack and all of that. And then we went to Independence Hall, right next adjacent, and listened to the park ranger tell the story and refresh us on what happened there. And you all know the story, probably even better than I do. But what happened was representatives from the 13 colonies gathered there, and they gathered there because they were under the tyranny of the King of England. They, as colonies, we know about the taxation without representation. They couldn't make the colonies couldn't make their own laws. They didn't have their own justice system. It was just a painful place for them all to be. And so they gathered in this place to talk about what can we do to get out of this painful place. And there was a lot of very heated conversation about what to do. There were some that were right away said, we're going to declare our independence. We're going to cut our ties with England. And there were others who said, no, let's talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's see if we can work this out. But eventually they came together and declared independence from the king, and then went off and the colonies started to function. But they realized that wasn't enough. And so they came back with the First Continental Congress in the same place, and they developed a year later the Articles of Confederation. So instead of being 13 separate entities, how are we going to come together and be one? And we all know, interestingly, that we all are one. We just don't recognize that too often. We operate as independent entities. But they came together with this Articles of Confederation. And then 11 years later, realized that just acknowledging that we're one wasn't enough. They had to develop some sort of a structure. And out of that came the Constitution. And that all happened in that same place. And as I was sort of taking all of that in, this theme came to me, and I realized our forefathers played out this principle that we're talking about today, that pain pushes until vision pulls. And they started out in the pain of the tyranny of the King of England, and that pushed them to do something. And then once they started moving, they realized that they had a vision, and they needed to articulate the vision. And so they came together, and the whole point was to form a more perfect union. And this is a political comment aside, I wish that more of us shared that vision, and chose to participate in the process and in the conversation about how we as individuals, how we as a nation can form a more perfect union, so that we don't have red states and blue states, but we have states that are all red, white, and blue. And I invite us all to play with the idea of what a more perfect union would be like. But then after the Constitution, as the vision continued to evolve, and has continued over the years. They wrote the Bill of Rights, and then we now have a total of 27 amendments that are all based in this vision of a more perfect union that represents all of the people all of the time. And it so ties in with who we are as folks in Science of Mind, as wanting to create a world that works for everybody. And so it just occurred to me that this process of change is a part of universal law. It starts from a place of pain and eventually evolves to a vision. So the pain pushes us, the vision pulls us. All of us have had this experience. All of us have had the experience that something in our life isn't going well. It hurts. It's painful. And maybe it's not painful, although I would be surprised if there's anybody present here today that hasn't gone through some really painful times. But besides that, sometimes it isn't really pain. Sometimes it's just a level of discomfort. Sometimes it really hurts. Sometimes it's like the pain of tyranny. And sometimes it's like having a pebble in our shoe. We just know that something isn't right. Sometimes it's painful enough to spark a radical revolution. And sometimes it's just uncomfortable enough to make us stop and take our shoe off and dump out the pebble before we keep going. What I want us to realize today is that every time we experience discomfort on any level of the spectrum, whether it's brutal pain or a mild discomfort, that experience is actually a gift from the universe telling us that there's something better for us than what we're currently experiencing. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook says, right where pain seems to operate, the presence of God is. I want to say that again. Right where pain seems to operate, the presence of God is. I mentioned about Black History Month. The pain of slavery, the pain that led individuals to try and run away, the pain that led to the creation of the Underground Railway, the pain of racial discrimination that led to civil rights, to the freedom marches, to civil disobedience. That went on for decades. And then Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King gave that incredible speech of I Have a Dream. And part of it is, I say to you today, my friends, even though we face difficulties, the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream that is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that my 4 little children will live one day in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. That's the vision that is pulling us. Comes from pain, goes to vision. Several years ago, I came across a book. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's called The Untrue Story of You. Any of you know the book? It's by Brian Hubbard. And the essence of the book is a reminder that we all have a past, we all have a present, and we all have a potential. And what he wanted us to know, what he wanted to remind us is that our past doesn't have to define who we are. It's simply that. It's our past. And we are in this present. And our opportunity comes from not looking at our past, although that might drive us, but it comes from looking at our potential. So here's the message. I'm going to give it to you in one sentence. This is what my whole talk is about today. It's an affirmation, and I invite you to remember it. My potential is bigger than my problem. I want to say that again. My potential is bigger than my problem. Almost 10 years ago, I was semi-retired. Life was good. It wasn't painful by any stretch. It was comfortable. It was predictable. It was routine, and it was boring. And I was involved in one of the things. It's not one of my one of the habits that I'm most proud of, but I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw an ad for a sprint triathlon. And I didn't even know there was such a thing. All I knew about was the Hawaii Ironman thing. And having been somebody that was reminded all of my life that I was not good at any form of athletics. I was the kid that I was always chosen last at recess, and then the person that had to take me wanted compensation from the other team because of the liability of having me. But I saw this ad, and I looked, and I saw that the sprint triathlon, it's a half a mile of open water swimming in the ocean. It's a 12-mile bike ride. It's a 5K walk run. And I'm thinking, I know how to swim. I've got a bike. I've got sneakers. I could do this. And if you're interested in the long story, which you probably aren't, the story's in my book. But the short story is that vision, that possibility of me becoming a triathlete pulled me into action. And I trained, and I completed the triathlon that year. And the next year, so as triathletes, you are in the age group, they call it, you age up. So the age group that you're in is determined by the age you will be on December 31st. And so technically I was 69, but according to the rules of the triathlon, I competed as a 70-year-old. And that year, in this little local sprint triathlon that was sanctioned by the U.S. Triathlon Association, I finished first in my age group. That's first out of two, okay? And I tell people, you don't have to get faster, you just have to get older. But by virtue of finishing first in my age group, I was invited by the U.S. Triathlon Association to try out to represent the United States in the World Championships that year. And I spent most of my life with very poor self-esteem. And when I got that invitation, I could hardly believe it. I told Debbie, she said, "You're kidding, right?" And so it was so much of a joke. I regret it to this day. I threw the letter away. I don't even have evidence that the story is true, but it is. What I want you to hear is I don't tell this story as a way of bragging, but I want to tell you this story because I have experienced this reality that our potential is so much more than our perceived problem. My perceived problem that I was not athletic at all. And I had a vision, but equally and maybe more important than that, I had a coach who shared the vision, and she knew what I needed to learn in order to make my vision happen. And the truth is, sometimes we have been so beaten up and beaten down by life that we've lost a vision. We've lost any sense that there's anything else in us except what is. And we're struggling with coming to terms with, this is my life and this is how it's going to be. And I just want you to know that it's not. That because of who we are, because we are individualized expressions of the one power that is in and over and through everything in the universe, our potential is limitless. It is infinite. I know that sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we find ourselves in a painful place and we feel stuck there. But I want to ask you, sometimes life is okay. And sometimes we're not motivated by the pain. Sometimes we're motivated by the vision. I know several people that had a vision of starting a business. They had a vision of doing something, of competing in an athletic event, of doing something, learning to play an instrument, of acquiring a new skill. And they just had that vision. And that pulled them into action to make that happen. But I suspect that on some level, this universal law was there, that on some level, there was some discomfort that pushed us to begin until the vision pulled us. So here we are. Life is full of uncomfortability. I know that's not a real word, but I just made it that. Life is full of uncomfortability, and we can't avoid it. What matters is what we do with it. And as I look at it, we have three choices when we feel uncomfortable, however minor or painful that is. We can deny it. How many of us are guilty of saying, I'm fine, I'm good, it's all good? And it's just a way of denying our pain. It's a way of denying how uncomfortable we really are. And that's a choice we have. But it's not the only choice. The second choice, and a lot of us are guilty of this, we try to numb it. We try to numb it. We do that with inappropriate sexual activity. We do it with drugs. We do it with alcohol. We do it with eating. We do it with spending. We do it with binge watching. We just try to make it go away. And that's a choice we have. But the third choice is to see this uncomfortability, this pain, this discomfort, to see it as the gift that it is, to see it, to understand it as the universe trying to let us know life can be much better than this. It's the universe having our back. It's the universe wanting better for us. And we can see it as the gift. And we can allow the pain to push us. And here's the scary thing. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going toward. I know what I'm going away from, but I don't know what I'm going toward, and that's what makes it scary. So here's the clue. I might not know what I'm going toward, but what I do know and what I can know is how I want to feel when I get there. And that's what I want us to tune into is, so I don't like the feelings I'm having now. How would I like to feel? What would that be like? And as we focus on what we would like to feel like, I promise you, a vision will emerge. that will pull us forward. What we do with the discomfort, what we do with the pain, is always our choice. We can deny it, we can numb it, or we can give thanks and use it. The choice is always ours. And what I want you to remember is, as an affirmation, my potential is bigger than my problem. I want you to say it with me. My potential is bigger than my problem. And say it again. My potential is bigger than my problem. And so it is. So if you would, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and knowing that my potential is bigger than my problem. I know that there is one power, there is one presence, and I know that this one wants only good for me. I know that we have the gift of emotion, the gift of feelings, and I know that those feelings range from utter despair and from almost unbearable pain all the way to joy and ecstasy. In this moment, I give thanks for the entire spectrum of our feelings, because I realize and I know that they represent the way the universe connects with us and tells us the extent to which we are in harmony with a life that is good, or the extent to which something is out of harmony. And I know that where pain is experienced, that's where spirit can be found, inviting us, calling us, pushing us, driving us to something better. It is with a deep sense of gratitude that we allow those feelings to push us and to pull us into a life of fulfillment, life that is truly magnificent. Knowing that our pain is not in any way limited by our past, knowing that our potential is infinite, we accept this truth. And we do this by saying amen and amen and amen. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bary. Thank you so much. That was absolutely powerful. I got it. Yes, I am greater than I believe myself to be. Way greater. Yes. Okay, so now it's time for a song by Robin Hackett.
Up from the ashes, awake from your sleep. Who'd have believed that you'd rise to see that it's all so perfect, the laughter and the pain, and there's nothing more beautiful than a flower in the rain. Well, I saw you under and I saw you down. You think you were lost, but now you are found. And it's so amazing to see you again. And there's nothing more beautiful than a flower in the rain. And in between summer and winter, there lies a promise of spring, yes. And teardrops are raindrops and season, and you're growing, and you're growing, and you're growing. Oh, I saw you stumble, and I saw you fall. Look at you now, you've come through it all, and it's all so perfect, the laughter and the pain, and there's nothing more beautiful Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so now it's our time for our abundance blessing. Okay, so we always ask that you give where you're spiritually fed, and I can't help but have the beautiful and heartfelt feeling that I was fed today. Thank you, all of you, especially Bary. Thank you for that incredible talk. So when you're spiritually fed, that opens up your heart, and of course, from the heart, to give from the heart, is the place of an endless source of abundance. Okay, so when you give whatever you may give, and whatever you are wherever you're coming from and what you've got, give it heartfelt, because from there, who knows what can happen, but I know miracles can happen from that. So if you would read along with me, if you have it. I'm not sure if it's on the chat, but anyway, I'll read the affirmation for conscious giving. I bless this gift that I give today. I give this gift from my heart, and I give it mindfully. May my gift go further to heal, prosper, and bless this center and all who enter. I accept all the good that comes as a result of this flow, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I got some announcements, of course. I'm going to shut off the recording.